I want to help you ace your real estate exam, and there are a few small but significant things that you can do both when preparing for the exam and during the actual test that will really help you improve your score. One studying tip that I found to be very useful is to not just go back and review the questions on practice tests you've taken that you answered incorrectly, but go back and review all of the questions that you answered correctly in as much depth. So often you'll get a question right, but it's not because you really knew the answer. It's because you maybe knew a couple things or you just guessed and sort of lucked out. But it's easy to think, I answered those correctly, I must know that information, but that's not necessarily the case. So go back, review the ones you didn't get right, study that information, but then also be sure to review the ones you did get right to really be sure that you actually got it right for the right reasons and that you know that information. Another really important thing to do when you're taking the exam is to use the testing software correctly. So first off, do the tutorial at the beginning of the course. It'll maybe take some test time, but do the tutorial so that you really know that software fluently so that you don't have to waste time trying to figure it out as you're taking the exam. Another thing to do is bookmark every single question that you're unsure about so that you can come back to them later. This was really helpful for me because, there'd be a question I just wasn't entirely clear on, and then 20 or 30 questions later, I would want to go back and look at that question because I had a little more clarity about it. And, it's really hard to go scanning through all of those questions in order to find that one that you wanted to get back to. So go back and review questions that you bookmarked and be sure to bookmark them in the first place. Another thing that happened to me is I would realize what the answer to one question was by reading another question later on. The information needed to answer that question would be in a later question. So that bookmark is really going to help you in that situation. Another thing that it will do is it'll allow your brain, your subconscious mind, some time to work on that question while you're focused on other things. It sounds a little metaphysical, but when you're trying to remember the name of a movie and you're trying really hard and you can't, and then later on when you're talking about something else, that name comes back to you, that kind of thing really can happen during the real estate exam and during exams in general. So be sure to bookmark those questions so that you can give your subconscious some time to, pull that information that you have buried deep in there from segment 1 of the pre-license course, and you'll have time to really bring that to the fore as you go back and revisit that question. Another thing to do is if you do see a question that's unfamiliar, don't make the psychological mistake of giving up on yourself. So I think on my nationals exam, I think the second or third question seemed unfamiliar to me, and I started to panic because I thought, oh, this whole test is going to be unfamiliar. This is a sign that everything's going to be bad. So I just bookmarked that. I luckily then hit a bunch of questions that I knew the answers to, and then I was able to come back to that other one when I had more confidence and knowledge about what I was doing, and I'm pretty sure I got that one right. So yeah, don't give up on yourself. And on those lines, it may seem like a minor thing, but while you're taking the exam, be sure to tell yourself, I'm going to do well on this exam, because it orients your mind to being in the right place to bring all of that information that you have in the back of your mind to the forefront of your mind. And another thing to realize is it really always is true that you could do well on an exam, even if you haven't studied for it. Everyone's had that experience of doing really well at something that you weren't prepared for, maybe, by accident or by some fluke. But it really is always true that you can do well, even if it's against all odds. So make sure you're in the right space psychologically to do well on the exam. Don't give up on yourself before you even had a chance to really prove to yourself what you can do. Anyway, I hope these tips were helpful. They certainly helped me do well on my exam, and I know they can help you. Anyway, good luck. Take those practice tests, get yourself in the right frame of mind, bookmark those questions, and don't forget to take the tutorial at the beginning of the exam. You're going to do great. Thanks for watching.